you. I'm not even going to do another one. It's basically everyone. Was it nice? You enjoyed Ithaca? Great. That's what I like to hear. Well, I want to introduce our final programming for this lovely Friday. So welcome to you. And I also just want to first thank eCornell. They're up at the top. They're streaming this program. We have around 500 people signed up from all around the world. So that's pretty amazing. And I also want to thank our amazing partners, Boomerang, who partnered with HEC, and they're really pushing towards this more sustainable future that we're hoping for. So you'll see the amazing bottled waters everywhere. Also, don't throw them away, or else the whole purpose is defeated. So yes, but here we go. So here we are introducing How Would Your Employees Rate You? Analyzing HR and Hospitality, which is a panel discussion with HR leaders from across multiple sectors of the industry, including food and beverage, airlines, and even luxury buses. So leading this discussion is Miss Elizabeth Ngonzi, Cornell MMH class of 1998, and founder and CEO of the International Social Impact Institute. The Institute works to help institutions and individuals access the resources, knowledge, and networks that will enable them to clarify and share their story to build an ecosystem of like-minded stakeholders with whom they can collaborate to make sure the world is more equitable and sustainable, very on brand with this year's HEC theme. We are so excited to hear how these HR leaders are helping drive equality and sustainability in our industry. So everyone, please welcome me in joining, wow. Please join me. It's been a long day. It's been a long year, seriously. But please join me in welcoming Miss Elizabeth Ngonzi, our amazing panelists to the stage. Thank you so much.
Amanda. Okay, we're on. Okay, thank you, Lucas. So let's give the students a round of applause. This has been awesome. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, where should I go? I'll go here. Thank you so much. I know we're standing between you and several cocktails, so thanks for showing up. Can we move up a little bit? Do you mind? We don't bite. Can you move up a little bit closer?
Making them warm.
Yeah, exactly.
That's better.
That's such a great
That
idea.
will make us feel.
Yeah, well, we want to make this more of an intimate conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, and hello to everybody on eCornell. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you for joining us when this is recorded. As was mentioned, I'm Liz Ngonzi. I'm a proud hotelie. I'm really thrilled to be the moderator of this conversation. And just before we jump into everything, I want to tell you a little bit about the panel topic, what we're going to be covering. And so remember, this is analyzing HR in hospitality. How would your employees rate you? The panelists will provide insights into HR practices that create a positive workplace culture and retain top talent. They will share their experiences and best practices for navigating challenges in the industry and discuss effective HR strategies. Additionally, they will explore how HR can promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, both from a US and international perspective. And they will also offer tips and advice for students based on their own successful careers in the industry. Students, they're recruiting, so you better be ready with your questions, okay? Now, we're gonna kind of change this a little bit, but for following the introductions, instead of going straight into the prepared questions that I have, I want to make sure that we've addressed any questions or concerns that you may have. So again, if you're looking for a job, this is time for you to speak up. And so while we do have the prepared questions for our esteemed panelists, we believe that your participation is crucial for creating a valuable and inclusive discussion. So once we've completed introductions, we'll then open up the floor to any questions or comments you may have, okay? And of course, this is about tailoring this experience to you and your needs. So let's go ahead and start with the introductions of our esteemed panelists. First, we have Rob Thorpe, the Chief Operating Officer at The Jet, a startup luxury motor coach service featuring the world's first motion-canceling passenger seat. You're gonna have to explain what that is to me, please. With a background in operations and design and strategic planning, Rob oversees the daily operations, revenue management, growth strategy, and guest experience at The Jet. Prior to joining The Jet, Rob was the opening GM at Avo, a Series B grocery delivery company in New York City, and a co-founder of an online wholesale marketplace for gourmet foods. He's also a faculty advisor to Mercy College's Guest Experience Certificate Program, and has an advanced certificate in hospitality management and hotel revenue management from eCornell. See, eCornell. Next, we have Vaibhav Garg, who is the Cluster Director of Talent and Culture at Global Sports Event Qatar 2022 at Accor. He's held several leadership roles in hospitality organizations. He has an amazing story, but we'll go into it, and spent some time in the Maldives, and it seems to be like quite a jet setter. He also serves as an advisory committee member of the United Nations Development Program Accelerator Lab's first Learning Cycle Advisory Committee in the Maldives. He is also involved in hospitality service research initiatives and programs here at Cornell, where he served as the advisory board member at Cornell Institute of Healthy Futures from 2018 to 2020, and currently serves as the industry scholar. We're also joined by my fellow entrepreneur, Amanda Nguyen. Nguyen? I said it correctly. Nguyen. Who is an amazing serial entrepreneur with a passion for innovation in the food and technology industries. As founder and CEO of Butter and this is actually what Butter and is a premium cake shop in San Francisco. And she, one of the things that she's really well known for is for having 140,000 Instagram followers. You better tell people your handle so you can get a number up even higher. And she's been featured in publications like Eater, People Magazine, USA Today, and Martha Weddings. And Amanda's mission at Butter and is twofold: to make great design more accessible and to set a new standard for ethical employment in the food industry. Last, but certainly not least, is my fellow hotelier, Steve Schuller, the Vice President of Human Resources at Frontier Airlines. He's recruiting, so just for those of you looking for jobs, responsible for implementing human resources strategies for the airline's 6,000 plus employees who serve over 30 million passengers annually. With over 25 years of experience in human resources, Steve has worked for various companies in the hospitality, healthcare, and retail industries. Something to note is that during the pandemic, listen to this, Frontier Airlines did not lay off or furlough any employees, thanks to its strong business model and leadership team. And I'd say, probably that Steve has shown that HR can be a strategic driver for business success. Okay? So, are you excited to hear from them? Okay. All right, great. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, and I'm going to ask them a question, then we're going to start thinking about your question. All right. So all of you, before we open it up, what I'm really curious to hear about from each of you is about your personal mission and what motivates you to do the work that you do. What inspired you to pursue a career in hospitality, and of course, Amanda, hospitality and entrepreneurship, and how do you see your current role aligning with your larger purpose? I think that understanding the why behind what we do can be incredibly powerful and inspiring, especially for students. And I'm excited to learn more about each of your stories, having heard them during the prep session, especially. So who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go. That's fine. And thank you very much for having me, and it's really great to be here. One thing that was missing from my bio a little bit was I spent nearly 20 years in the British Royal Marine Commandos. Like any military organization, it is an organization that is human-centric, huge investment in our human capital, the people, the Marines in my case, and I had the privilege to lead and command Marines on operations around the world for nearly 2 decades. When I left in 2019, having married an American and made the decision to live over here, I knew that I wanted to work in an organization that had people really at the center of it. Because what I'd learned in the military was that we're only ever as good as the people that we lead, and they hold in their hands the reputation. And if you have any kind of customer-facing aspect to your business, the people at the lowest level of your industry, of your company, can let the side down in an instant, and when they do, it can take a very long time to rebuild that trust. Whether it's Marines on operations interacting with local Afghans, or whether it's, in my case now, bus attendants on a bus and they mess up and they do something wrong. So I really wanted to, what really inspired me was working with people to build a reputation from the ground up and just to set up a kind of culture for success that is embedded on people. And I love that. And we're doing that every single day. It's quite high risk, especially in a startup, but it's great fun.
And thank you for your service,
I know
even
that.
though it's for a different country.
Yep.
Okay, so Steve, let's go. Hotelli.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
bring
good
the
afternoon.
Hotelli
It
energy.
is great to be back at HEC. It's exciting to see the students put together just an amazing, amazing program. And so for me, my mission, I want to build on what Rob said, it's the power of people. I want to be an advocate for the power of people. And I was 3 years into an operations career in the hospitality business in hotels. When I realized that it's all about the people, right? Without the people working in our businesses, it's empty aircraft, it's empty motor coaches, it's empty restaurants, and it's empty buildings. And so it takes the power of our people to bring our ideas and our brands to life. And so I absolutely echo what Rob said. It's how do I advocate and create programs for people? And so 3 years in, I made a career switch. I got out of operations and really started on the human resources track because that I found my sweet spot. So I had a kind of subtle career shift midstream, sitting in the seats here. I never thought HR was going to be my career, and I never thought aviation was going to be my career. And I would have spent a lot more tension in the HR classes had I known now what I knew. Anyway, regardless, it's all about the people. And we should all understand that fact that we are not going to be successful as leaders without understanding that we need to have the people behind us to bring that brand to life. And so my mission is just to continually advocate on our company and just more generally. How do you create programs that allow and create environments where people can bring their whole selves to work? And when they do that, when they give that discretionary effort, it really just transforms your brand.
Love it.
Yeah.
From the people to the people.
Yes.
Okay.
True.
And so let's go ahead to you.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Such a wonderful show, and thank you for having us here. I see great passion in you guys. A big round of applause to all of you guys who are involved in this. I see great confidence and commitment that you have, so kudos to you guys. Well, talking about my mission and purpose, I was thinking this afternoon, how should I be starting on this particular very interesting question? And I looked at my badge, and it says speaker in a purple color. And I got a eureka moment, and I said, okay, yes, this is what I do, purpose and people. My career has been very interesting. I started from a telecom company. I worked with 3 telecom companies, started my career in 2002. And then, by accident, I got into hospitality in 2007. And trust me, I never looked back. Because one of the things that I realized in that experience with a hotel company called Taj is their passion for people. I mean, while I was working for the telecom company, we were dealing with gadgets, and our approach was completely different. But when I went and I started to work with Taj Hotels, way back in 2007, I realized there's a different world where people catering to people, where people are caring about people, So the human element is very, very, it's evident, it's right there. And as he rightly said, that we are in a business of people, we need to use a lot of our heart, compassion, empathy. These are the values and virtues that we need to have. And we work from heart. I mean, now I work for Accor. And in one of the things that we talk about having human connection or building relationship is we call our colleagues and employees as heartists, And it means heartist means heart and artist. So we are the artists who create moments for our employees and our guests, So this is a great combination. And in my entire career, I worked with these 2 major companies. For Taj and Tata's, I worked for 10 years, and now 8 years with Accor. But I see a great value system. I see a great and amazing ethical framework that sets the foundation for these companies to grow and flourish and ensure a great career for all of us, including me. So talking about purpose, when I was a teenager, I wanted to have my own NGO. and I named it as COPE, C-O-P-E, Conserve and Protect Environment. I spoke to a couple of my friends, and I said, hey, can we have our own NGO? I want to open a society. I want to do something. And few friends, they came together, and back in the time, this is 1997, we were too young to understand. There were not such platforms at that point in time to encourage us. Today, we are talking about startups. We're talking about having a dialogue between the young and the one who have experience. But nothing happened, It was all in my mind, and it stayed in my mind. And when I graduated in commerce, I still wanted to work in this area of, giving back to society. So at that point in time, as a graduate, I wanted to work with United Nations, but I never got through it because after I did my master's, there was a huge pressure on me to find a job and build livelihood for myself and to take care of my family. And so I got into the job, but still this passion of working with society, giving it back to community, working with UN. In the back of my mind, I had my cope and hope, but I never gave up. When I started to work with Accor in the Maldives, we opened our first property in 2018. And at that point in time, there was an opportunity for us to partner with a local NGO. And we had UNDP, and that's how I got involved in UNDP. And today, luckily, thanks to my bosses, they allowed me and they empowered me, they believed in my vision to partner with these agencies such as UNGC, UNDP, and UNICEF. So we collaborate, we work together, and we give it back to society. So all I just want to say is that if you are very headstrong in what you want, go ahead. Dare to dream. And Dare to Dream was our theme in 2020, isn't it? So that stayed in my mind, and all my message to all of you is to never give up. Even if you have it in the back of your mind, subconsciously you will find a way to reach your goals.
Right.
So
You figure out how to match your purpose with your paycheck.
Yeah,
basically.
that's right. A purple paycheck.
Perfect. So thank you for that. Amanda, let's go to you,
Okay.
our entrepreneur.
Yes. So I've been thinking about this question ever since you asked me after lunch.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think since then it's changed.
That's okay.
And I think that's actually I think that's like the one constant thing for me is my why has changed a lot over the years. I started a cake shop, and here I am. I never thought that I would start a cake shop and then I would be speaking at Cornell. I'm not a hotelier, but after this experience, I kind of wish I was. But yeah, so I guess a little bit of background. I was born and raised in San Jose, California. I was not classically trained as a pastry chef. I actually left a job, a very high-paying, stable job at Facebook, maybe 7 years ago now, to start a cake shop called Butter And my why back then was, I think, curiosity and passion. I loved cake making, I loved baking, I loved making people happy, I loved helping them celebrate life's special moments, and that was my why back then. 2 years after that, when I hired my first employee, my why changed, and that's when I learned about the food industry. That's when I moved into a shared kitchen and met other food industry people, and I saw how they were treated, and that's when I realized that why I was continuing to choose Butter And was to actually see if I could do something different. What if I could treat my employees with the respect and honor that I think that they deserve? And so I made my cake shop. I modeled it after a tech company, which is really strange. It's a registered Delaware C Corp. I give our employees stock options, and it's just a very different way of running a single location cake shop. Fast forward 7 years after that, I have 2 startups now. They're both venture-backed. One is a logistics company that serves my cake shop and helps us bring our cakes into the suburbs out of San Francisco. And then the other startup helps business owners like myself, small business owner and operators, save time by leveraging artificial intelligence to better serve their customers via email, phone, and text. And so my why today is again changed. I think when I first started Butter and, I was serving my customers, and then I was serving my employees, and now I'm serving myself in some ways, because small business owners and operators, they do not have a lot of time. It is a really chaotic experience operating an independent hospitality business. And that's, I think, why I continue to do what I do today, but we'll see about tomorrow. It's always changing for me. So, yeah.
Okay, so one thing I'm getting from that is your why can evolve, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel like what you're feeling today or what you're into today is static, but you should be able to evolve with the experiences you have. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes you have a burning desire for something. You can figure out how to weave it into the experiences you have moving forward in your career, right? So that's one of the, I think, the takeaways I get from that. And throughout all this, it's people, people, people. Yeah. People are very important. Okay, so thank you for that. We've started with introductions. Do we have mics ready for folks' questions? Okay, so can we get some questions maybe from students? I see a young woman. I think you put your hand. Did you? Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Everyone looks younger to me, so they look like a student. Okay. So as we're getting kind of ready with those questions, let me go ahead and ask. I think this is important for any of you who may be looking to work for any of these companies. As hospitality industry leaders, how do you promote a positive and inclusive workplace culture and build diverse and inclusive teams? And how have you adapted your HR policies and practices to address the unique challenges faced by the industry during the pandemic? You had to change things around that and working from home. And what lessons have you learned that you can be applied in the future? And basically, what are you also thinking about, or what kind of strategies have you implemented to ensure that your employees feel valued and supported, particularly in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, whether it's on a national basis or international? And how do you measure success? I know there's a lot there, and it's going to fit different people in different ways, but basically, I want to understand what kind of environments you're creating.
Yeah, there's a huge amount to unpack there, and there's 3 good questions, but I think in terms of building a kind of diverse, inclusive culture, right, in an organization, for me, the driver there is in a for-profit company, as I now work in, it's about diversity of thought, because funny old thing, if you've got diverse thinking in your organization, you're probably going to collectively come up with the best ways to make money. That's the bottom line for me. So it's not about quota hitting or anything ridiculous like that. It's just about how do we get the best brains, the best people in the room to make the best business decisions. And when you're customer facing, the best brains is often to do with the best ability to empathize with your guests, to put yourselves in their shoes. And I, with my white middle-class Anglo-Saxon private school education from the UK, cannot possibly put myself in the shoes of every single rider on board the jet, or every single customer of a wholesale marketplace, or everybody who interacted with us in the military. So I need a diverse team around me. And so straight from day one, it's about selection, and being really open, like making a positive decision in your interviewing, in your recruitment processes, to open yourself up to different experiences and to keep your eyes open through the recruitment process to take in as much talent, as much diverse talent as you can, and then seeing that through the onboarding process as well, because then you'll have a team around you that can lead you to success.
Okay, great. I'm going to come to you, and then we'll come back to you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talk about in our EVP, Employee Value Proposition in Accor, is appreciating and respecting people who they are and how they are. And we have 5 pillars of diversity and inclusion, and we train straight right from the leadership to the grassroots level employees that these are the 5 pillars that we need to respect, and should be no bias. And what are these 5 pillars? Gender, generations, sexual orientation, disability, and can you guess the 5th one? Culture. So these are 5 areas where we do not discriminate. Even our recruitment charters, recruitment policies, every policy and procedure that we have in for our employees, whether it is employer branding, whether it is onboarding, whether it is training, whether it is career management, or our CSR initiatives, there is no bias, there's no prejudice involved. And as an employee myself, I feel that we are a very open-minded organization, and that's the message we give to our future colleagues. That's what we advocate in our EVP, and that makes us a great brand who we are today. And it's not something that looks good in a playbook, or something that looks very attractive and appealing in our signages and our posters in the cafeteria or the billboards, but it's something that we live day in, day out. Respect is one of our core values at Accor, and we really mean it. So going back to the point that we train our leaders how to take care of the team, how to have this human connection without any prejudice. When they do that, they set an example, and then that's what we are doing. I mean, we aim to have leadership, we aim to have inspiring leadership, and through these kind of initiatives, we make sure that their communication is there, but there should be an impact. Communicating with impact is one of our key forces when we are talking about leadership development and training our general managers, training the ExCom team, training the head of the department, because they set the tone.
Okay, so irrespective of someone's culture, gender expression, and they feel comfortable to apply to Accor.
Absolutely.
And they will be given a fair shot.
Absolutely. I mean, we have our integrity hotline where we encourage our colleagues to report any behavior which they feel is not appropriate. It's properly investigated, and that also opens up a platform for us to create an open culture, So, I mean, it's very, very, we get all kind of grievances, we get all kind of complaints, but at least there is a platform, there's a voice that's heard, and I'm extremely proud of the system that we have at Accor.
Thank you. Okay, let's come over to Frontier.
Yeah, look, we're all in the service business, right? We are inviting customers into our businesses, whether it's a restaurant, a hotel, an airline, and they are, by nature, diverse and representing all facets of society. So if we're not having diversity conversations inside our organization, then we're missing the mark. It should be part of our DNA. Now, here in the airline business, we're a little bit challenged because we are diverse as a company, and we want to build a company where we reflect the diversity of our customer base. We just have diversity in the wrong places, at the wrong levels and in the wrong roles. And so part of our mission as a company is to make sure that we are visibly demonstrating our commitment to diversity by creating opportunities for people to grow into careers that maybe aren't as diverse as we would like them to be. Take, for instance, pilots as an example. Here in the US, pilots are largely male, largely whites. Only 5% of pilots nationally are female. So how do you create opportunities that diversify your pilot base? Because we think when all voices are at the table in equal measure to the reflection of society, we're a better company overall. So we do actually look at that as a target. How do we kind of create programs that really inspire them? We created a cadet program last year to help grow our pilots. And you could be if anyone wants to be an airline pilot, by the way. In 2 years, we can make you an airline pilot because the world needs more of them. We've had significant interest in it, but interestingly, 25% of our applicants to the cadet program are female. Right? So 5x the national average. So we feel like we're doing what we can do to grow the diversity of our pilots because it's not where it needs to be. So we're constantly looking at programs and procedures and visible support of diversity and inclusion initiatives. I think one of your questions was, what's it take? It takes leadership, right? Taking a stand that this is what we want to be, this is who we want to be, and your leaders demonstrating their visible support for that in everything that they do.
Okay, that's fair enough. And you know, I want to just make a note about something that kudos to the HEC team for bringing on an airline as well as motor coach company, because I think what's important to see here is that irrespective if it's a hotel or restaurant, whatever, that we're dealing with people, we're providing opportunities for people to be able to serve and to have great careers. And so I appreciate the fact that we have you here to give your perspective. Of course, you're a hotelier, so that's wonderful. Let's go ahead on to Amanda, because this is something you're very interested in. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So as an owner of a small business, it's actually really inspiring to hear everyone on this panel speak, because as leaders in a larger organization with a lot of resources, it's really cool to hear Vaibhav talk about like the programs that you guys have. It's just so structured how you can systemically target or just achieve the goal of more diversity and equity in the workplace. For Butterand, we are a small team. We're only 10 people. And so I think one easy way to start is put people of color in positions of power. That's me. And then also our general manager is a woman, and she's, Nicaraguan. Another thing that we do at Butterand is in our application process, resumes are actually optional.
Right.
And that's because not everybody communicates their best selves in the form of resume. And so that in and of itself is you could argue, exclusionary. What we do is in our application process, in our interview process, we center it around skills and potential instead of experience. Because when you look at what your own experience is, you could argue that it is one of privilege too. Like what you're exposed to and what you have, your opportunities are different than someone else's. So instead of looking at what restaurants did you work at and what culinary school did you go to, if this applicant never could afford culinary school, what can they do? What's their attitude? How do they approach problem solving in the kitchen? And then one last thing that Butterand does is we work with programs in San Francisco that are also serving underrepresented populations, such as felons, former felons, or people experiencing homelessness. They recruit for us because everybody needs help recruiting, and they pass us people to put through our interview process as well. So those are a few of the things that Butterand does in those efforts.
Okay, that sounds great. And so I'm loving hearing all the different perspectives here. And I think something I want to bring up, because when you and I spoke, Rob, last week, did we speak last week?
Last week, yeah.
When we were talking about the diversity issue, and you're like, well, and you expressed your views on it. I think what I wanted to also let people understand is that diversity and inclusion is important, but it makes business sense. It's not just a good to have. It's not something that you shame people into doing. But having that diversity of thought, having people who reflect the people that you serve, really provides a strategic advantage and helps your company to be a lot more sustainable. So I want to be really clear that that is the spirit in which I'm coming from in that question, because it does make sense. So thank you for your responses. And does anyone have a question yet for me? I have plants. Where are the plants?
I just jump in and make just a really solid example from this last week at the Jet. So to your point, we were having a team meeting on Monday, and one of the strategies we've developed that I was keen on when I joined, something I used to do in the military, was make sure that our team meetings were as transparent as possible. So we're still lucky enough. We're a tiny, tiny startup. I've got a total of 28 staff. The team meeting, we have a kind of ops weekly roundup on a Monday afternoon. We open that to every single employee. They're welcome to join. There's always a Q&A session. They can say, no such thing as a stupid question. We want to hear their concerns and their comments and their feedback about what we're getting right and what we need to improve. And this week, one of the newest members of the team said, "Oh, have you thought about doing something for Pride DC? It's on the 10th of June in DC. There's going to be 250,000 people this is a huge marketing opportunity. And I don't know that the founder and I would have landed on that as a kind of marketing avenue were it not for the fact that we'd invited this guy into our meeting and he'd had the courage to say, here's a great idea, 250,000 people are going to walk past your bus. I'm like, okay, what's the cost here? And it's suddenly this week we've developed, we're going to have the bus there, we're going to have revelers all around us, it's going to be great, we're going to have music, we're going to dress the bus up, and it's part of our value system. We're going to show off the team, we're going to show off the bus, we're going to invite people on, and yeah, you don't get there unless you've got diversity of thought embedded into your DNA.
Absolutely. So let's take a little bit, let's go a little bit into mental health and wellness and that, because that's important, right? If I were today looking to work for a company, I would want, as a student, to know that a company has a strategy or has really thought about how to protect me, how to make sure that they're not overworking me, because we come in from an industry that has the reputation of overworking people and not really being as caring about those folks. So my question for you is how you're supporting people around mental health and well-being. And then when you think about your employees who are on premises or they're in the buses and stuff, how are you really kind of helping them, given the fact that so many people want to work from home, right? So someone whose job is operations focused and needs to be on the front line, how are you protecting them and how are you creating opportunities for them to feel safe and protected? So I think let's start with you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, good question and very relevant. I would like to start with saying that when you're talking about mental health and well-being at workplace, it goes far beyond than just having a yoga session of half an hour once in a week. A lot of times we see that, okay, it's good to do once in a while, but that's not how and why it needs to be there. When we talk about mental health and well-being of our employees, we're talking about flexibility. And when we say flexibility, it could be number of working hours. I'm giving you a context of working in the Maldives. Now, when you work in the Maldives...
It's a nice place to work.
Yeah. When you work in the Maldives, you are all on an island. You're living and working together. Let's say Fairmont, we have over 400, 300 employees working and living together, serving the guests who come and stay with us. So it's a very congested and a very restricted working environment because nobody's going home. People are going to their accommodations that's been set for them as per their grades. But nobody's going like home. You do 9 to 5 shift and you're going because the city is far. There are logistics challenges, there are transport challenges. So the only time you're going home when you're going on vacation. So when we look at well-being or mental health at workplace, yes, we do yoga sessions. That's fine. But what more than that? So we are flexible. We are flexible with our leave policies. We are flexible with working hours. And as I said, because nobody is going home and people are doing multiple shifts, people are allowed to combine their days off and take those days off all together, going and meeting their friends and family. So that is one thing that we do. Of course, post-pandemic, things have changed. And even we as an organization, we have come up with several initiatives for our employees to feel good about themselves, giving themselves time. We came up with policies with regards to salary advances, loans, and things like such to understand that they might have some need, financially. So how do we understand and how do we have a dialogue with our employees so to able to understand what they need, what works for one might not work for another colleague, So having a dialogue is important and we focus on that. We make sure that we are doing career counseling, we are doing career management, and most importantly, within the first 3 months of their employment with us, we make sure that we have a monthly chat up with the new joiners because not everybody, you may have a comfort level to work in such an environment which is restricted, So having a dialogue is very important. I, as an HR leader, I make sure that I speak to our colleagues at routine basis beyond town halls because something might be personal, something might create a trigger in their mind and cause them discomfort, which would have potential impact on the guest service. Yep. So sometimes they open up, sometimes they say that, okay, I have this issue, how we can provide you. Sometimes some people come, some employees, and they say that, hey, it's not my kind of world, I want your help. And we said, okay, complete your 3 months, get your probation, and we'll transfer you within another company or another property. You don't have to leave the group. You can still be with the group. We have 5,000 hotels across the globe. So there is a possibility. Don't stress. Focus on today. Do your work well, and we'll find a way for you. When you give that assurance, obviously you take a lot of stress, and the guy focuses on the work. And for first 3 months or a year, people, they focus on work. They know that there's somebody they can talk to, somebody they can speak with, and when you speak with employees, when you have this dialogue, you avoid and you control a lot of negative outbursts out in social media. Today, it takes like 10 seconds for somebody to videotape you and make you famous.
Yeah.
Right? In a good or a bad way. How do I protect my brand image? How do I protect my own image as a leader? You know? So when you have these dialogues and you provide these platforms to your head of the departments and your general manager, you create a web, you create a circle, you create a culture that is positive, which has an impact. And I was telling you about communication with impact. Communication is important, but with impact is the role of a leader. You know, so, and it doesn't take much time, to be honest with you, you know. So,
it doesn't.
So once you talk to an employee, once you know what their problems are, and you help them to come out of that situation. Now, it could be anything. It could be financial problems, career-related problems. I'm not getting along with my boss. I'm not getting along in this environment or atmosphere. So we can find a way. So just have a dialogue and be flexible. These are two things that I would possibly, I mean, I do that as often as I can, just to make sure that my team are at calm.
Okay, thank you. So let's hear about it from the perspective of a small business owner.
Yes, small business life, it can be stressful. If you have a team, you know, like Butter Ann's, it's 10 people, there isn't a lot of redundancy built into the labor model. And that's a result of just having a very small scale. And so kind of along the lines of what you were talking about, open lines of communication, I think, is probably our strongest way of delivering on this promise of like wellness and mental health. We have other things too at Butter Ann, like a subscription to BetterHelp, which is company-provided 3 months of therapy.
Wow.
Which I think is a really big deal for a small business. It is expensive to provide that benefit, but it is something that we think is really helpful for people to have when they're struggling with mental health. However, 3 months is not probably enough for someone who really needs it. And so I think at the end of the day, it's communication, because where work stops and life starts, you know? If you can go to work and be grumpy, but still respectful and kind to your employees and expect the same, or even coworkers, and expect the same from them, I think that is how you can be an employer
So communication and caring and being open and having that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about caring for people.
It is. It is.
That's what you're saying. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, right?
It's
caring
exactly.
for people who help your business to be successful, help you to serve your customers.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And help you to realize your vision.
Yeah, and it's that communication too, because they will tell you as their leader what they need to feel better. And so I guess one example of this would be in one-on-ones with one of our pastry chefs, Racina. She told me that work is really stressful for her because she fears that if she gets sick, then we won't be able to deliver on the cakes next weekend. And that's terrible. That's like a lot of stress and pressure for someone. And so the way that we respond to that with action is, how can we train more people so that if she is sick, there's other people who can pitch in and help us deliver on our promise to our clients. And so that's reconfiguring our products maybe so that they're easier to teach, and that way we can relieve some of that stress from her.
I'm going to do something. Can I have everyone stand up? Because I think you ate pasta and that rice and all that delicious cake. Let's stretch a little bit. I think we need a little bit to get ready. It's sort of a pre-cocktail stretch.
I was going to say, no, so
Yeah.
questions
Okay.
yet?
Do you have any questions yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to take the black shirt and then the blue.
All right, Mark.
I'm just wondering, because it sounds like you're growing ancillary businesses based on the needs that you found with the original bakery, which is just so cool. So congratulations. How you think of time splitting between the 3 different businesses, and where's your passion in terms of which one you want to grow the most?
Oh my goodness, that is such a good question. I think this is something that I've been marinating on a lot personally. There is not enough time in the world. Running one business is really hard. Running, 3 is even harder. So the most recent business is Pastel, and that's the one that leverages artificial intelligence to help Butter Ann deliver better customer service. And all the other small businesses that use it. And it's actually addressing exactly what you're asking. It's saving us time, and I think time is the most valuable resource, not just as a business, but as like a human being, as like a person who is operating and running a small business. You never feel like you have enough of it. And so what Pastel is doing is something that I feel so strongly about, because at Butter Ann, we spend the most time on 2 things. We make cakes, and then we talk to customers. And for making cakes, you can make that faster and more efficient in so many ways. But for customer service, it's actually a very personal thing. Like, as a brand, how do you want to sound? As an owner of a small business, how do you want to sound? How do you want to take care of your customers? There's tone there, but with artificial intelligence, like, I can train the model to sound like me or like one of my employees, and then we can have that AI auto draft all of our emails to our clients and respond to all the text messages, and that cuts down the time to like 1/10 of what it would normally take, because it takes a lot of emotional work to respond to someone. If they, you have to say something nice. Or if they, are a longtime customer, you want to make them feel seen. And it's actually very hard to teach. And that's basically what Pastel is doing today. So I feel, to answer your question, Pastel is the one that I'm like very excited to grow right now.
Are you looking to invest?
That's good.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah, so connect. Okay. And go ahead in the back.
So
please.
The question I was going to ask is, what strategies or policies or approaches do you have when dealing with the customer as it relates to the employee? Because in this day and age, customers may be anything but gracious. They may not necessarily appreciate your diversity, equity, inclusion policies. Any employee is one bad day away from being viral or a bad review. And I know a lot of hotel companies in particular are focused on incentives to make sure that people are doing those things well. And so, as you think about being an employer who's trying to grow your brand, make sure you're delivering the experience, but at the same time, the people that are delivering that experience, may have a rough time about it. And the thing is, they're going to get tarred and feathered by some of these guests or customers that aren't delivering. And so, yes, as the employer, it's our job to deliver that experience. But how do we support our employees when our customers aren't exactly supportive of us?
Steve, you want to take that?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, so the airline industry, right or wrong, is a really well-covered industry, and everything goes viral. So we've had employees hit with stanchions. We've had people punched at the gates. We've had passengers, in some cases, to your point, David, are not nice, right? They're frustrated. Travel's tough in general. And so I think the key for us as HR leaders is just make sure your employees feel supported. One, you want to make sure that they're trained to de-escalate and they understand that skill set and they have it in their tool belt to de-escalate where it can. sometimes that's just not enough, right? You want to give them the support, make sure that they're surrounded by a supportive team. But when things do happen, and they will, and they do, how do you make sure that they are supported after the fact as well? Make sure you are leading with empathy, that understand it is a difficult job. We were asking our flight attendants and our gate agents to enforce policies that they may or may not have agreed with, that our passengers may or may not have agreed with. Mask mandates being one of them. And it creates just a lot of tension in the workspace. So again, lead with empathy, understand that it's a difficult role, give them the tools in their tool belt to de-escalate it when they can.
Great. Rob, I think you can probably handle this too.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm slightly deaf in this ear, so military work hazard. I think I heard the question there is, like, how are we anticipating how the guest is going to react and kind of...
And support your employees.
How are you going to
based
support the
on
employees? So one of the things you do is you kind of get ahead of it, right? Set the expectations of the standards of the experience you're trying to build. So for us, in the jet, we make a pre-departure announcement, just like an attendant would on a flight. And we run the jet as though it's a quiet carriage on a train. So we say, please keep your work calls, to less than 5 minutes. Please keep your voices down. If you're joining conference calls, we have the fastest Wi-Fi in domestic travel. It's as good as I have at home. It's really exceptional. So a big selling point for us is the productivity and the time you buy back if you're business traveling with the jet. It's incredible. But we don't want necessarily people to be joining a 4-hour conference call and they're chairing the meeting for 4 hours. That would be slightly obnoxious behavior. So we try to set the expectation ahead of time that, please be online, enjoy the Wi-Fi, but if you're joining calls, keep them low. We, of course, have had incidents. We've had things that touch on kind of sexual intimidation and that kind of stuff of our attendants. Inappropriate comments and kind of lewd comments. We've had that very occasionally. And that can be dealt with pretty swiftly, either by the attendant through some decent training, some de-escalation training, or ultimately by calls. The attendant can phone back to a dispatch manager, me, probably, and I'm very happy and have engaged with guests during their experience with us and phoned them and said, I'm really sorry, your behavior at the moment is not appropriate. We will pull the bus over. We will stop the service if we needed to make sure that our team is suitably looked after. And we've gone to that kind of length before. We've never had to do it. But we have had to make those calls twice. Yeah. It's a tough call to make, obviously.
But that's leadership support of your employees, which goes a long way to making sure they feel valued.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they can take yoga. And then they can take yoga.
Depending on what happened actually after fact-finding. So yeah, that's that. We stand by our colleagues, we stand by our employees, and then we do the fact-finding later. But the first thing is to give them that support system that, we stand by you. Okay, this happened. We do not penalize the guest or the employee at the same time, but we see what happened. Leaders are trained to do fact-finding. Leaders are trained to handle guests separately and employees separately based on the situation. It could be unique, it could be different, but when you do support your employees, trust is one of our values. And again, this is how we live that. Especially in the Maldives, we work and live together. So the culture is very homely, because you're coming back after your duty, you're coming back to the village, and then everybody's staying together, talking, and what happens to one employee is known to everybody in a fraction of minutes, So if you as an organization, if you as a leader and HR professional, you stand by your colleagues, you say, okay, what happened? Calm down for a while. We take you out of that situation and we do the fact-finding later and see what happened. But everybody knows that what is the process? What was the approach? More than the process, it's the approach. Where is the human approach? Were you sensitive enough? Were you really mature enough to handle that situation? So it can happen at any point in time. We have zero tolerance to harassment, and it goes at any level. It goes for both the processes, guest-centric processes, employee-centric processes. So it's again coming back to the fact that we are human beings dealing with human beings. We don't lose our approach towards the very basic of the fact that we are people.
Yeah. Amanda, do you want anything to that?
No, I think
we've got a lot of that. Okay. I want to ask, how many of your we've got, okay, 10 minutes, got it. Students, how many of you looking for jobs? Do you want to ask a question? Okay, there we go. We're right in the back. Yeah, let's hear from you, Lucas.
No, I mean, first of all, I think I can speak on behalf of everyone so far. I mean, I found this truly like super insightful, but I guess the question I had is, I know each and every one of you can say that your companies are kind of operating on people who work on operational roles, right? In daily operations, but I think post-pandemic we're seeing a trend moving towards people wanting to do maybe more remote work, and maybe they a greater emphasis on work-life balance. So you know, I know Amanda being a leader of your own small company, and everyone else kind of way up in a corporate role. But how can you support your staff in these decisions post-pandemic, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. I think it's just really giving them that flexibility that you mentioned, right? Say we have absolutely, we're 24/7 operation. We always have planes in the air. So there's certain roles that obviously have to be at work, to work. That's where the work happens. But for all the supporting roles that we have, we've really introduced a lot more flexibility. Pre-pandemic, we were an office-centric culture, 5-0. That's where the work happened. You came into the office to do it. And if there is a silver lining to the pandemic, at least for us, it's just this understanding that work can happen anywhere, anytime, and we've offered them a lot more flexibility. So we're largely, for our headquarters support staff, we're in a 3-2 or 4-1 model for most of them. I don't see us ever going back to a 5-0, because I think that ship has sailed, at least for us and in the market that we're in. I think you're just not competitive if you don't respect the flexibility that the employees are demanding these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, do you want to touch on that? Because you definitely have to.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the question, Lucas. I suppose COVID was a huge wake-up call, wasn't it, for the hospitality industry, and many of you know that a lot better than I do, and for the airline industry as well. We've been fortunate enough to pick up some absolute superstars from both the airlines and the hospitality industry, because I think people have emerged from COVID and gone, I don't have to be so committed 24/7. It doesn't have to feel like a grind. I can do something that fits my lifestyle a little bit more. And so one of the things we're doing is working really hard on scheduling. We have a lot of working mums who they'll pick their days. They'll say, I'm good for 3 days a week, or I'm good for just Sundays and Wednesdays. We're like, okay, we'll plot that out. You wouldn't, in the motor coach industry in this country, well, I think globally, it's a very old-fashioned kind of an industry. It lost nearly 60% of small operators were wiped out by COVID through, I think, a lack of innovation. It astounds me that this still happens, but Greyhound, get your heads around this, Greyhound won't necessarily tell a driver that they're driving the next day until the day before. Sometime between 4 and 8 o'clock 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 o'clock in the evening is when a driver might find out that they're meant to be on duty the next morning. That's how they run their scheduling. We'll do our scheduling 6 to 8 weeks out. We'll get people to commit ahead of time. We'll kind of strike a deal with them. We'll say, this is how it is. We'll update them as soon as things change. If we get new charters in, we push it out. We want to be as transparent as we can, because we know that's the only way that we can retain the top talent, because they expect to be flexible and they want something that that partners with their life. And so it's a kind of two-way flow of information. It's the only way you get the talent.
I love it. I love it. I know they want us. I know we're wrapping up, but when I get before I'm gonna ask you all a last question. That last question is, what's a call to action? What do you want people to do? What are you offering? What's a piece of advice you want to give? And then I'm gonna wrap up everything. So who wants to go first?
I can start.
Okay, let's go.
Well, coming back to Lucas' question, first of all, let me reassure you that there are enough jobs. What we find as a challenge is to find the right talent. And some of the things that when we go for hiring and we do these recruitment camps, one of our biggest challenge is to find talent with not only operational skills, but also requirements of the job as a leader. We are looking for talents with enabling skills, collaborative skills, entrepreneurial skills, communication skills. So if you want to be a candidate of choice, please be open-minded, open for change, be flexible, learn different languages. It's a blessing, I'm telling you that, especially if you want to work in an international scenario. And have a skill which is very unique to your own, because that will make you unique, that will make you stand out from other candidates. I'll give you an example. When we go and hire, we look for a director of F&B, for that matter of fact. Yes, we look for somebody who has a decent experience of 5 to 6 years as a director of F&B in a similar segment hotel, and everything is fine. But what we look now, post-pandemic, what we look now in this year, 2023, 24, in this part of, at this stage, we are looking for leaders who can be inspiring. We are going to hire one director of F&B who will be handling 30, 40 employees. I'm not going to risk the lives and careers and motivation of those 30 employees just because I cannot find a right F&B leader who cannot inspire, encourage, who discriminates. No, so these are the skills that we are looking for. We are looking for a person, a leader who can lead with impact, who can communicate with impact, who's inspiring, who has a personality which is multi-faced, who can do multitasking, who's flexible. So if you want to be a candidate of choice, you have to have other skills apart from your academic skills, apart from your core subject matter skills. But you need to also be a good human being. You need to inspire people. You can only inspire somebody as human when you use your heart. When you do good to yourself. Empty vessel serves none. You need to be self-motivated. You need to be confident, and you guys are. I mean, the last time I was at campus was in 2019. And now I see, after coming here after 4 years, and I see a huge change. And it's so enterprising. It's so astonishing to see the confidence in you guys, and you go and you walk and everybody's greeting you. You see that welcome. It's very, very, special. So be you. Be you. There are enough jobs. Don't worry. We do have 4 pillars in hotels. Front office, housekeeping, and kitchen and F&B service, but we do have career opportunities in IT, in human resources, in training, in sustainability. We are talking about these aspects. So you never know. I mean, you can be a good operational person, but a good operations person can also make a good training manager. A good operations person can also make a good finance person. So up to you.
So, needless to say, can they reach out to you on LinkedIn if they're interested in opportunities?
I'll be more than happy.
Okay, great. So that's your closing thing. Thank you for that. Let's go ahead and go to Amanda. What do you want to leave us with? And what's your call to action?
My call to action for the aspiring entrepreneurs in the room.
Oh, and also, eCornell.
Aspiring entrepreneurs in the room. I would say, let's see, stay curious. I think the one constant for me, or maybe it might be different for you. Here's another one. I would say continuously check in with yourself, because I've been in like a very strong career track, and I've also been in like many entrepreneurial tracks now. And the one thing that I continue to do and would advise everyone to do as well is check in with yourself, see if you're still enjoying what you're doing. Are you curious about something else? Maybe go explore it. And I think as long as you continue to pursue those curious trails, you'll probably find yourself in a very fulfilling track of life. And also maintain a good support system, because any founder probably needs a co-founder. Mine's right there. Okay. And it's really important to be able to surround yourself with people who will believe in you, who support you endlessly, because the road of entrepreneurship is filled with a lot of doubt and no's and hardship. It's over-romanticized, in my opinion. So,
what's your Instagram handle? Before you wrap up for
it's Amanda 2.0. Haha.
Amanda
lots of change.
2.0?
Yeah, Amanda
Okay.
2.0. Okay. Butter and is butter_and. And yes.
And if anyone wants to connect with you around entrepreneurship and stuff,
Yes,
and
please.
investing, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, Founder Therapy, I'm here for
So
you.
DM her on Instagram at
Yes.
Amanda 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay, if we,
Yeah, real quickly, my call to action is follow your passion. Figure out what's important to you. Life's too short not to enjoy what you do for a living. So, if you're on one track and you find out 3 years in that you're like, oh, this is not for me, find your next passion point, because that's really important to do that. And if your passion point is working in aviation, come talk to me afterwards.
okay, and you're also taking LinkedIn requests.
We are.
Okay, perfect. And Rob, we're going to wrap it up with you.
My call to action, if you're a student here, is get a mentor. Look around you this weekend. You're surrounded by the great and the good of the hospitality industry. You will want to be potentially the great and the good of the hospitality industry. You've got people around you who have been there and done that, and they've been in the trenches, and they've got the scars to prove it. Find somebody who you put inside your circle of trust. You can just bounce ideas off them. There won't be any judgment. They'll help you avoid pitfalls. They might open doors for you. You never know where those relationships will lead. But find somebody this weekend, latch onto them, get their business card, and seek their advice.
I love it. Thank you so very much. And thank you to everyone who joined us over there. Thank you to all of you who are with us today. I'm going to leave you with one quote that I think really summarizes all this, and it's from the late Maya Angelou. And it says, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And we're in that business of making people feel great. And so just remember that, whether you're a student, you're running your own business, or you're an executive, that's really fundamentally, I think, what makes our industry is very, very special. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to Lucas. And where is Maria Alexandra? Where is she?
She's running around.
Oh, okay, because she also helped us put this panel together. And I guess I think we're done, right? I got the 1 minute warning from everybody. And it's cocktail time, right? Ooh. Woo!